I want to talk about a concept that I've come across recently from Nathan Barry called teach what you know, or teach everything that you know. It's something that I've been applying to my life for some time now, and I just wanted to share with you some of the learnings that I've had so far, especially for all of us creators out there, or just people who are in the business of creating stuff and may sometimes feel that imposter syndrome, or may feel, you know what, this is something that already exists out there. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about today. And specifically, I wanted to share with you 3 excuses that I used to give myself to get out of creating something new, and I imagine others might relate to it. So here goes. First of all, the excuse of I'm not that good yet, right? And this stems from imposter syndrome. Many times we feel like, you know what? No, I will create something. I just need to build up my experience a bit more. I need to get to this proverbial expert status. And one of the things, and by the way, I wrote a whole article about this if you wanted to check it out. But one of the things that I'm learning is that this whole notion of being a guru or an expert is a little bit outdated, and at the same time is almost like an asymptote. That is, people will never necessarily reach pure absolute mastery. And our audiences are not necessarily expecting that from us either. Think of it this way. Imagine someone like me, a total beginner, trying to listen to someone who is like an absolute expert at something. Maybe in a weird way that creates some distance between us because I could not even relate to their super high level of success. And now to flip that, let's say that I'm a beginner and I'm creating content for fellow beginners. Maybe I'm just a little bit ahead, so I'm in that position to add value a little bit. I wonder for that person if they would relate more to someone who's closer to where they are, who's kind of been there, done that, or someone who's a lot further along the journey. And if you're thinking about yourself now, that's exactly what I'm trying to get to. Depending on the level of knowledge that you currently have, this is a perfect and unique opportunity for you to really teach what you know from your specific unique vantage point. All right, so the second excuse that I used to give myself, and again, I hear this a lot, is it's been done before, or it's been said before, it's not going to be original, what am I going to add? And I want to share with you an insane stat that really freaked me out when I heard it. So I consider myself a creative person. I obviously enjoy other forms of art, and I just love watching films, for example. And I realized a couple of years ago, I came across the stat that said that all of the films that you and I love actually all revolve around just 6 story plots. Which is insane because, you think of all the different films out there and you think, no, but my favorite movie is original or whatever. But the truth is there's an entire industry revolving around just 6 main story plots. Now, of course, there's a lot of different permutations and combinations with every film, and that's what gives it that original feel, if you like. And I would argue the same for content that you and I would create. How do we take our own unique vantage point based on our own life experiences and the fact that we're still on that spectrum of being somewhere between, let's say, a total beginner and a total expert, assuming that exists. I don't think it does. You can take that vantage point that you stand at with your own style and basically create content that is perceived as original and in a weird way may actually resonate with people a lot more, maybe because of your background or the way you explain things, the way you simplify things. If you feel like what you're talking about is too basic or too simple, well, guess what? You might just be a very good learner. Maybe there are others out there who are still struggling to understand some of these concepts, and you could be the go-to person for that, right? And the third and final excuse for now is, how will this help me achieve sales? Or how will this help me achieve some extrinsic goal, more downloads, views, signups, whatever? And it's interesting because sometimes you may think of this content at best as, this is just a fun exercise. It's good for creativity or whatever, but I feel a bit guilty because I still have targets, or how is this going to help me in my company create the goals that I'm trying to achieve? It's interesting because the best analogy that I could think of in terms of relating to this is kind of like the time when you maybe met your partner and you realize that they fell in love with you, or that you fell in love with them. I imagine that it's probably not pinpoint to a specific event where this romance took place, right? It probably happened over a period of time. Obviously, you had to build trust, you had to build that relatability, so on and so forth. And that's exactly what teaching what you know allows you to do. You're able to actually become that go-to person for people. And by the way, do not confuse go-to person with an expert. You could just be a go-to person for a certain feeling or a certain topic or a certain niche in general. And, people will gravitate to the content that you're creating because they love the way that you explain it and the way that you bring it and your own personal life experiences. And as I said earlier, many times they will relate more to your story than maybe other stories that were out there before. And, obviously, if we don't abuse it, over time, this is something that builds immense trust. And yes, not only would they end up buying from you, but they would actually advocate for you, they would defend you, and they'd be able to actually help you spread your message and what you do in their own circles in ways that you could not even possibly imagine reaching. So these are just 3 excuses that I wanted to debunk, to just help us creators out there and to share with you like what I'm learning as well, that whatever we know right now should be taught, because definitely it's going to be benefiting somebody out there. Anyways, let me know what are some other excuses that you have recently overcome as well. And just let me know your opinion on the topic overall. I'd love to hear from you. And I'll see you in the next one.